For anyone not familiar with our channel, this is our home, a 19th century abbey that we bought 14 years ago and have completely restored. Today is the 3rd day of January 2019. And once again, we are on the way to the dump. Not a landfill really, but a sorting center where they separate the various kinds of detritus that people bring there, and it either goes to recycling or gets burned or whatever happens to it. It's Thursday, 1:30 in the afternoon. The recycling center is about a half an hour drive from our home on the other side of Alsfeld, on the way to Lauterbach, where I've taken you if you've ridden with me in the past, and on the way to Fulda. We have a car full, actually full to almost to the top, with everything from old lamps, many old lamps, three computers and one printer. I've taken the hard disks out of the computers for obvious reasons. We have a carpet, a big old, actually I think it's bamboo or something that we used for many years, but that wore out. It's about 8 feet long, and I think it's probably about 8 feet wide too. Rolled up next to me here. We have some old garden lights. In other words, there's quite a bit of electronic stuff that's going to need to go to the special place for electronics. Getting rid of electronics doesn't cost anything. You can just, as long as you separate it, you put it in its proper place. The other stuff does cost something, but it's not really very expensive. I think it's about the equivalent of about $20 per ton or something, so it's not a problem. I don't have more than a couple 100 pounds of stuff that will cost. You can see that the weather is it's cold. It is, let me check the temperature here, it is 0.5 degrees Celsius, just above freezing. About 31 degrees or something like that. Fahrenheit. We're trying to get some order in our household. We have, as you saw, a very, very big house, which is like a very big hard disk on your computer. You get really sloppy about what you save because, oh, there's plenty of room. You just don't bother sorting and deleting or eliminating. And as a consequence, the house slowly, well, it's not full, but it's we don't have built-in closets, so there's no place to hide anything really. And as a consequence, we've got stuff in corners and places, and well, we just need to get rid of a bunch of stuff. And the thing about it is, you know, it's not junk. The stuff I'm taking today is for the most part junk, although there are some things that I'm sure some people would like to have, but we don't have any opportunities. I just don't have time to offer things on eBay. It just takes too long, and then they have to be packed up, and then they have to be sent, and the person then says they didn't get it, or it wasn't what they wanted, or it wasn't in order, or it got damaged, and so on. And I'm 77 years old. I just don't have time for that kind of stuff anymore. So we're just eliminating a lot of stuff that we know we won't need or haven't used in a long time. I wanted to do this today actually so that I can clean out the car, because the car is a real mess. It's we've used it for transporting all kinds of stuff, garden whatever you call it, old tree excuse me. I'm gonna sneeze again. I can tell it's gonna. Old tree branches and piles of leaves and all kinds of, and then we've also transported a lot of this kind of junk that I've got today. So the car is really dirty, and I want to get it vacuumed out and wiped down, cleaned out. There's paper and junk laying around in it, not much, but enough that it doesn't look very nice. We always take care of our car otherwise, and in these last months there's just been so much. We've been doing so many other things, and that's why one of the reasons I haven't made a video, or actually I've made lots of videos, but I haven't gotten around to, I haven't had the peace and quiet to sit down and edit them and upload them. So one of my aims for the coming year is to do that. I'm going to even upload some of my old videos, other trips to the dump. And then I want to get the car cleaned out. I want to get the rear seats put back in, because we've taken them out to use so that we could use this as the equivalent of a pickup truck. And the reason I want to clean the car out at this time is it needs to go for a technical inspection. It's we have to take it in to have it inspected. So they test all the lights, and they test the brakes, and they test the suspension and all the running gear, otherwise check for oil leaks and all that stuff. And it just makes a much better impression, I believe, if the car is clean on the inside, because they do a test drive as well. We will have our garage replace the rear brake rotors because they're rusty. And If I had a lathe, I'd turn them down, but I don't have a lathe, so no use thinking about that. No one turns down brake rotors anymore, as far as I know, so we'll just replace them. They're not that expensive. And that should be all the work that needs to be done. I think the rear brake rotors, the handbrake needs to be adjusted as usual, I guess, and we'll have new windshield wipers put on. I don't know of anything else that needs to be done. Actually, the car is in good condition. We take good care of it mechanically. It is an 18-year-old Mercedes A-Class. We bought it in 2000 and let's see when we got married, 2001. So 18 years ago, actually. Yeah, it was a 2000 model. And had about 5,000 miles on it when we bought it. It was a factory car. And it now has 300,000 kilometers. The transmission was rebuilt. It has a new starter and alternator. That's about all the major work that's been done. I mean, that's plenty, but that's all the major work that's been done on it. It's been a very good car. It only let us down once when the alternator went out, because when the alternator goes out, the power steering is electric. That was a new thing to me. I didn't know there was such a thing. I thought power steering was always hydraulic, but this car has electric power steering, which means that when the generator or the alternator went out, the power steering went out, and it was impossible to drive. I couldn't steer the car. It was also nighttime, and I didn't have any lights, so it just wasn't possible. We're a member of the German Automobile Club and the ADAC, and the guy came. We called, and the guy was there within a half an hour and put the car up on his transporter and took it to our garage and took us home. And the next day our garage called and asked if we needed a car, and we did, and so they gave us a loaner, and they had to replace the generator. Anyway, that's the all of that as an excuse for why I want to clean out the car. Oh, yeah. As you can see, we did have a little snow yesterday. There was supposed to be more snow today, but so far there isn't. And I see it's 1.5 degrees Celsius here, so even if it did snow, it probably wouldn't stick. I have to remind myself that there is a radar tower on this road. I guess the speed limit is 70. Yes, speed speed limit's 70, and the radar is in a place where you wouldn't expect it, really. For which I guess there's a good reason. Thinking back on 2018, it was a turbulent year world-wise, but our year wasn't really all that bad. Fortunately, Karen and I enjoyed relatively good health. Didn't have any serious health problems anyway. We did lose Valentino, our cat. Here's the radar. This blue column here along the side of the road, which you can see right now. It just blinked at me, but I'm only going 60, so I'm sure I didn't get a ticket. We lost Valentino. He suffered in the end quite a bit. It was a shame. The last few weeks were pretty awful. We couldn't decide whether it was time to. Well, we took him to the veterinarian every couple of days, and they kept saying, well, he can recover, but it became evident that he couldn't. That was in January, I believe. And then in, I don't know, August, Andor broke down completely. He couldn't walk all of a sudden, and we realized he was in severe pain. We took him to the veterinarian and to the clinic, and I have to say they kind of misdiagnosed at first. They thought he had a pinched nerve in his back or something, but it turned out we went to a young, we were in the clinic, and a young veterinarian woman who seemed to be very, very adept said, no, I don't think it is a pinched nerve at all. And she didn't just do an x-ray. She did ultrasound and found out that he had a very large tumor. He had a spleen tumor, and she said if I had waited another 3 hours, it would have been too late, because his abdomen was already full of blood. So they operated immediately on him, and he's recovered completely now. It took quite a while. He needed a couple of months almost to really recover. And unfortunately, I don't think it had anything to do with that. He's 11 years old, so it must have to do with that. But he lost his hearing completely, or it seems completely. Sometimes if I scream at him, why he seems to respond, but he doesn't hear like he did or like he should. So, but he seems to be getting along all right. We noticed that he apparently feels a little bit lonely because he can't hear, and he always wants to be within sight of us. He doesn't have to be directly with us, but he has to know where we are, because I guess he can't, like normally he would hear us. And if he can't see us now, he has no way of knowing where we are. And he's a German Shepherd, so he is very, very dependent on his very close connection with his humans, as German Shepherds generally do.